Welcome back to Mighty Habits, everybody. I am Steven,
And I'm Mary.
and today we're diving deep.
Into memory.
Yeah, memory. Specifically, the idea of unlimited memory.
That's the name of the book we're looking at today by Kevin Horsley.
And, I think
Yeah.
everybody would love to have,
A perfect memory.
oh yeah, just total recall.
Everything.
Names, dates, facts, figures, faces.
All of it.
And it's interesting because Horsley doesn't say that that's impossible.
Yeah, he basically says we all have the potential,
It's just about learning how to tap into it.
which is where the whole idea of mighty habits comes in, right?
Exactly.
It's not magic. It's practice and technique.
So no magic pill, just good habits.
Consistent work, and you can really see some big
That's
changes.
for sure. So instead of getting bogged down by information overload.
Which I think we all experience.
Oh yeah, constantly.
We can actually train our brains to learn more efficiently.
So we've all heard that you need to get enough sleep and exercise.
Yeah, those basic things.
But what I really liked about this book is that it goes beyond that basic stuff.
It gets into the more advanced stuff, yeah.
So let's dive into that. But before we do that,
Okay.
I think it's worth talking about the science of memory for a sec.
Yeah, for sure.
Because most people think of it as one thing,
Right, like it's just one single thing.
but it's actually way more complicated.
It really is.
So what's actually happening in our brains when we try to remember something?
So imagine your brain is like a giant network,
Uh,
a network of neurons. And every time you learn something new,
uh-huh.
you create new connections in that network. And the more you revisit that information,
Yeah.
the stronger those connections get.
Okay, so it's almost like building a path.
Exactly.
Like the more you walk down that path, the clearer it becomes.
Yes. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Our brains are just naturally wired to remember some types of information better than others.
That's true.
Like, think about it.
Yeah.
It's harder to remember a list of random numbers than it is to remember a story.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Or an experience.
Right, because stories and experiences are more engaging.
Yeah.
And they use more of our senses.
You've got smells, sights,
It
sounds.
makes them more vivid.
So that makes the experience more memorable.
And that's one of the key principles in unlimited memory.
Okay.
Horsley says we can use these natural tendencies by using specific techniques
Uh-huh.
to make information more vivid,
Okay.
more engaging, so it's easier to recall.
So give me an example.
Okay, so one technique that I really liked is associating names with images.
Okay.
So let's say you meet someone new named David,
Okay.
and he has this really booming laugh.
All right.
You could picture him as King David playing this giant harp
That's a good one.
with the sound echoing through the
And
room.
I love that.
So it's so much easier to remember.
Than just a name on a business card.
Right, because you're turning abstract information into a picture.
A mental snapshot.
Exactly. And the more ridiculous the image, the better.
Okay.
Our brains love novelty.
That's true.
It helps the information stick.
But associating names with images is really just the beginning.
Oh, yeah, there's so much more.
Horsley talks about a lot of techniques.
He does.
And one of the most powerful
I think so, too.
is the memory palace.
Oh, yeah, the memory palace.
It sounds so mysterious.
It does.
Can you explain that one?
So picture a place you know really well,
Okay.
like your childhood home.
Right.
Now imagine walking through that home,
Yeah.
and as you go, you're placing objects
Okay.
in specific locations, and these objects represent the things you want to remember.
So give me an example.
Let's say you're trying to memorize a presentation.
Uh-huh.
You could imagine the opening point as a giant microphone
Okay.
sitting on your front porch.
Right.
The next point as a stack of slides on the kitchen table.
Okay. So it's like creating a mental map,
Exactly.
using a familiar space as the canvas.
Yes, but I know what you're thinking.
What? Yeah.
It sounds complicated.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, do I have to create a new mental landscape every time?
That's what I was wondering.
You don't. The beauty of it, you can use the same space over and over.
Okay.
Just change the objects.
So it's kind of like a mental filing system
Yes, you got it.
that you can constantly update.
Exactly.
And it's not just for presentations
Well, not at all.
or grocery lists,
You can use it for anything.
languages, historical facts, anything.
Anything you want to remember.
But, I mean, all this sounds a little overwhelming.
I know, it can seem that way.
Like, am I really going to become a memory champion overnight?
You don't have to do it all at once.
Okay.
Start small, practice regularly.
All right, so like any skill,
Exactly.
the more you use it, the better you get.
You got it.
Okay. So we talked about the techniques.
Right.
But how does this actually translate into being more productive and less stressed?
Oh, that's a good question because I know I get bogged down when I can't remember details
Me too.
or I can't find that crucial piece of information.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So imagine you're in a meeting and someone asks you about a project. And instead of frantically searching through your notes,
Yeah.
You just calmly recall the information.
Wow, wouldn't that be nice?
It would feel amazing.
So you have this mental clarity and sharpness,
And you can focus without those frustrating tip-of-the-tongue moments.
which happen way too often.
They do.
And it's just one example.
There are so many.
Improved memory can help you learn new skills faster, make better decisions.
Be more creative.
It's almost like upgrading your mental operating system.
That's a great way to put it.
And I think that's what's so exciting about this book.
Me too.
It's not just about remembering facts and figures.
It's about unlocking our potential.
Yeah, becoming more effective learners.
Totally. And there's one thing that really stood out to me.
What's that?
The connection between memory and emotion.
Oh, yeah.
We remember things better when we have an emotional connection to them.
Think about childhood memories.
Exactly.
You can remember those so vividly.
Even though they happened years ago.
Right, because they're tied to those strong emotions.
Exactly. But how can we use that when we're learning something new?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, it's about making the information more personal and engaging.
Okay.
So instead of just passively reading a textbook,
Yeah.
connect the material to your own interests or experiences.
So instead of memorizing historical dates, I can imagine myself living through those events,
Exactly.
experiencing the emotions and challenges of that time.
Yes, you're creating a stronger, more durable memory.
It's like those history teachers who bring the past to life with stories.
That's a great example.
Suddenly those facts become unforgettable.
And don't forget about storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
Weaving information into a narrative can make it so much more memorable.
Whether it's a real story or just one you create in your mind.
It doesn't matter as long as it engages you.
And it's not just positive emotions either.
Right.
Sometimes those embarrassing moments.
Oh, yeah.
We wish we could forget them, but they stick with us.
Because of that strong emotional response.
So even though we're not seeking out negative experiences to boost our memory,
Right.
it shows how powerful emotion is in forming memories.
For sure.
So we've talked about vivid imagery, emotional connection.
The Memory Palaces.
Yeah, memory palaces. But I imagine it takes practice.
It does.
So what's the best way to get started?
The key is to start small and be patient.
Oh.
Don't try to do everything at once.
Right.
Pick one technique and start incorporating it into your life.
So like maybe trying the image association method to remember names?
Exactly. Or create a simple memory palace for your grocery list.
Yeah, just start small.
And make it fun.
So it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
Like building physical strength, it takes time and effort.
You got it.
But the rewards are worth it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned feeling overwhelmed by information because Horsley talks about that in the book. He says it's one of the biggest obstacles to learning.
Really?
Yeah, because we're just bombarded with information all the time.
Oh, yeah, constantly.
Social media news feeds emails.
It never stops.
It's like a fire hose.
Yeah,
And our brains aren't designed for that.
that's interesting.
Yeah, we evolved in a world where information was scarce.
Right.
So now it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, you just get overwhelmed.
Exactly. You feel stressed and you can't process anything.
So what do you do?
Well, cutting back on screen time helps.
Makes sense.
But Horsley says we can be more proactive
How?
by strengthening our memory.
Oh, okay.
So we can be more selective about the information we consume.
So it's not just about remembering more.
Right.
It's about filtering out the noise.
Exactly. Focus on what's important.
It's like a mental spam filter.
I like that.
Okay, so that's where these memory techniques come in.
Right.
When you have a system for organizing information.
You don't feel so overwhelmed
Okay, but is there a limit?
to how much we can remember.
Yeah, like the book is called Unlimited Memory,
Right.
but our brains have to have some kind of limit.
Well, Horsley says our brains do have limits, but they're much greater than we think.
So it's not about remembering every single thing.
No, it's about remembering what's important.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, one way is chunking.
Chunking.
Yeah, so instead of remembering a long string of numbers,
Uh-huh.
you break it down into smaller chunks.
Okay, so like instead of 1776-181 to 1941.
You remember it as 1776, 1812, 1941.
Oh, so you connect it to historical dates.
Exactly.
That makes it much easier.
Right.
But what about when our memory fails us?
Like when you forget a name or an appointment.
Yeah, or where you put your keys.
It happens to everyone.
Is that just a glitch in the system?
Well, some forgetting is normal.
Oh, okay.
Our brains get rid of unused connections to make room for new information.
Oh, that's interesting.
But we can minimize those memory lapses.
So how do you do that?
Well, first pay attention.
Okay.
It sounds obvious, but we often go through life on autopilot.
Yeah, you're not really present.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
next time you meet someone new, really focus on their face. Repeat their name and try to connect it with an image.
So be more mindful.
Right.
But what if you do forget something?
You can try retracing your steps.
Mentally.
Yeah, so if you lost your keys, visualize the last time you had them.
Okay.
Where were you? What were you doing?
So you're basically a detective.
Exactly. You're searching for clues.
But sometimes that doesn't work.
Right. Sometimes you need to change your perspective.
Okay.
So if you're trying to remember something, look at it from a different angle.
So ask yourself different questions.
Exactly, like what else is related to this?
That could help jog your memory.
It might.
What about when you're trying to learn something new and it just doesn't stick?
You can try spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition.
Yeah, so instead of cramming, you review the information at different intervals.
Okay, so you're spacing it out.
Exactly. It makes your brain work harder.
So it's like a workout for your brain.
Yes, and it strengthens the connections.
Okay. But what if you're feeling overwhelmed by how much you have to learn?
Break it down into smaller chunks.
Okay.
Don't try to learn everything at once.
Right.
Focus on one thing at a time.
So prioritize.
Yeah.
What about stress?
Stress is a big one.
Yeah, because when you're stressed, you can't remember anything.
Right, because stress hormones interfere with memory.
So how do you deal with that?
Manage your stress levels.
Okay. Easier said than done.
I know, but find healthy ways to cope.
Like exercise?
Exercise, meditation, spending time in nature.
So create a calm environment for your brain.
Exactly.
What about when you're just tired?
Get enough sleep.
Okay.
Sleep is crucial for memory consolidation.
So aim for 7 to 8 hours.
Ideally, yes.
But what if you need a quick boost?
Like before a presentation.
Yeah.
Take a few deep breaths
Okay.
and focus on the present moment.
So just calm your mind.
Exactly.
What about when you're feeling uninspired?
Try new things.
Okay.
Expose yourself to new experiences.
Like what?
Read different books, travel, talk to new people.
So expand your horizons.
Yes, you're expanding the network in your brain.
It's like cross-training for your brain.
I like that.
But going back to unlimited memory,
Yeah,
are there downsides to having a super memory?
that's a good question.
Like, wouldn't it be overwhelming to remember everything?
Well, Horsley's not advocating for total recall.
Okay.
It's about remembering what's meaningful.
So you have control over your memories
Exactly. You can access the information you need.
without being bogged down by the rest.
That's the idea.
So it's really empowering.
It is.
It's not about being a walking encyclopedia.
Right.
It's about using your brain to its full potential.
Exactly.
So why should our listeners care about all this?
Because a strong memory can benefit you in so many ways.
Really?
It can boost your confidence, improve your communication, make you a better decision maker.
Wow.
It can even spark your creativity.
So it's about living a richer life.
I think so.
Do you use these techniques?
I do. I love the Memory Palace.
Right.
I use it for everything.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to try it.
You should.
I'm terrible with names.
It can really help with that.
So it's like giving your brain permission to play.
Exactly. And when you enjoy it, you learn better.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about all these techniques,
Right.
and I've been thinking about different learning styles.
Oh, yeah. Like visual learners, auditory learners.
Exactly. Do these techniques work for everyone?
That's a good question.
Or do you have to tailor them to your learning style?
Well, I think they can be adapted.
Okay.
Like the Memory Palace is visual,
Right.
but you can add sounds or even physical sensations.
So you're making it a multi-sensory experience.
Exactly. And for auditory learners, you can use rhyming or mnemonics.
Oh. Or even set information to music.
Right. You find the tools that work for you.
So it's personalized
It is.
and empowering.
Exactly. You're in control of your learning.
Yeah. And I think that's what I love about this book.
Me too.
It's about exploring and experimenting
Trying new things.
and finding what works for you.
It's about being curious.
Yeah, and I think that's at the heart of unlimited memory.
It's not just about memorizing facts,
It's about expanding your mind,
challenging yourself.
becoming a better learner.
And I think that's something we can all benefit from.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So to wrap things up,
Okay.
we've talked about the science of memory,
We have.
the power of visualization and emotion.
And the practical benefits of a strong memory.
We've explored techniques like the memory palace,
Spaced repetition.
chunking,
All sorts of things.
and we've talked about managing stress
Getting enough sleep.
and staying curious.
It's all connected.
So the key takeaway,
I think it's that we can all improve our memory.
yeah, that we all have that potential.
It's just a matter of effort and practice.
So if you're ready to boost your memory,
And unlock your potential.
check out Unlimited Memory by Kevin Horsley.
It's a fantastic book.
And don't forget to subscribe to Mighty Habits for more deep dives.
We're here to help you unlock your potential.
One mighty habit at a time.
Until next time.